Hi, this is Ken. This spiritual video is called The Circle of Life. And this is a really interesting topic, especially when you talk about it from a spiritual point of view. Everything begins with conception. With conception in the mother's utero, a new life embraces a spirit that joins it, a piece of God that is going to be with that new life through the rest of its life until it dies. This is true not only of humans, but of all life, animals, plants, or anything else as well. A spirit is now present within. As the baby grows in the mother's stomach, it learns about what life is like. Because with the spirit or the peace of God, all the knowledge of the universe is there. There are no disruptions or anything to distract it because that's all it knows. A spirit represents unconditional love, shared with all. There are no alternative motives. There's no me or I. It's just us. And its goal is to share its love with all others without reason or cause. So when just before a baby is born, it has all it knows is love shared. There is no concept of the ego or me. It's just us. And it's the goal of the spirit is to direct the new life to understand this and to share its love with all others selflessly. But with birth, something very interesting happens because with our very first breath, the ego is also born or develops. And the ego is everything that we learn from the moment of our birth until we die. It is the function of the ego is to take care of us. Its only concern is about me or I. It has absolutely no concern about other people as well. And it does everything it can to survive and to convince you that what your life is concerned about is to take care of yourself, to make sure that you do well in life and that you survive and that you have the best things in life without concern for anyone else. As we are growing as a child, especially during the first 5 years of life, your opinions, your prejudices, your views of the world are often developed, and they remain for the rest of your life. It's not that they can't be changed, but it is much more difficult to change them after, when you're an adult, if you've been indoctrinated very strongly when you were young. When this happens, very often for the great majority of people in the world, their ego becomes the dominant view of their life. Their ego basically determines their future, their decisions, their views, their prejudices. And with the strength of the ego and the belief of everything that they've learned, it mitigates the voice of the spirit that is also within. Some to the point where the spirit cannot be heard at all. The more the ego succeeds, the quieter the messages from the spirit are going to be, and the more problems you will have in your life. For though the ego takes care of you, everything the ego is trying to convince you of, everything that you've learned is simply not true. It is an illusion. It tells you that to be happy, to be successful in the world, you need to take care of yourself, You need to get a good education. You need to get a good job. That you will be happy if you have a house, if you get married, if you have a lot of material things, if you travel, and everything else that we are taught to believe. In reality, although this may give the illusion of happiness and success, absolutely none of that is true. Success and happiness may never, ever be found in the world. They must first be found within, where your spirit is. And then and only then may they be shared with the world. When you do this, you allow your spirit now to be predominant, or to direct your life rather than your ego. Though your ego will always remain with you until you die. Your spirit now, once you accept its messages from within and then share it with others, your spirit now will be the primary director of your life, relegating your ego to the lesser supportive role that the spirit used to be. That is what the meaning of life is to understand this dynamic, to accept your spirit as your primary director of your life, to share your unconditional love that your spirit represents with all others without reason or cause, selflessly, to help everyone in their journey through life. That is why we are alive. Now, when we die, something very interesting happens, because with death, just before you die, your ego, if it's still controlling your life, as it does for the great majority of people in the world, they never do reach this point. The ego loses interest. It no longer needs to dominate your life because you're going to die. So it doesn't have a ball in the game, so to speak. It has no interest anymore in trying to convince you of anything. So it releases its hold on you. And at this point, your spirit actually becomes dominant. Even if your entire life was completely 100% dominated by the ego, at this point, it releases its hold on you, and your spirit now is finally able to be heard. For so many people, just before they die, with their hearing the messages of their spirit for the very first time in their life, they start to understand that everything that they've accomplished in their life, that they were told that was important, truly was not. For when they die, all the money they make, the friendships they had, the things they did, the material possessions they own, they will no longer matter. The only thing that would matter is the influence that you may have had on other people, the positive influence you may have had on other people, to help them, by sharing your love, to help them discover their spirit or their peace of God that is within them as well. And you realize at that point that though you have done all of these things, and you may be extremely wealthy or famous or had a very prestigious job, none of that is really important. Now, when you die, not only does your body die, because your body is simply a shell that contains your spirit, but your ego dies as well. Because the ego is born when you take your first breath, but it also perishes when you take your last breath. But your spirit is eternal, it's immortal. And what happens with your spirit is it returns to a higher plane of vibration where it can no longer be seen, where it joins other spirits, once again, waiting until it's next directed to join another new life, to restart the circle of life once more. This is Ken with another spiritual video. Until next time.